Good evening and welcome to race number 4 of the Triathlon New Zealand eSport Series brought to you by Manuka Performance. Seated here next to me is Rob Dellymore. I'm Anna Russell. You know us by now. This is a great course tonight. I'll let Rob take you through it shortly after we do our results. But Rob, you're back in New Zealand.
Fourth week, fourth different location for commentary. So here we are. But I'm actually home, so I'm very relieved, very thankful for that.
Fantastic. It's been a great 3 races to start with. Tonight it's pretty flat and fast. I've got eyes on the pen at the moment. 9 minutes till the women's race. A and B cat start. About 10 minutes. We're following B cat men tonight. But before we kick into a bit of the action, how about we see where we're sitting in the results for where we're standing 3 races in.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. So starting out with the clubs, Triathlon Tauranga settling into a nice little lead there over Canterbury Auckland City which is going to be a real tight battle. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out the next couple of weeks. Wellington and Hibiscus Coast also battling out for 4th and 5th, quite close behind each other.
Yeah, they're looking pretty tight there with those 2nd and 3rd. Looking at the coach groups now. This is look at that foot traffic taking. It's almost embarrassing, Rob. Huge lead out there from the foot traffic crew. I've got some people already coming on the socials. Sarah Lloyd saying go foot traffic. Fitter sitting in 2nd place. They jumped ahead of Team Inspire on 186 points.
Come on, Anna.
I know, I've got to get up there. We've got, actually, O'Hagan Sport, do want to mention as well that it is the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Tony O'Hagan. So he has inspired a lot of athletes, especially on the Zwift platform. He was fantastic and helped me a lot last year when we got this all started. So fantastic to see his athletes still representing and 4th on the table, which is just phenomenal.
And we know Tony would love this race. He would have been all over this race.
I think it was just all over every one of these races.
Every race,
Perimeter coaching, Chris Willett's crew out of Tauranga is sitting in 5th place.
So through the A categories, James Harvey, James Barnes, both battling it out at the top of the table. Mark Boseed, Ben Ruth and Alex Heaney close behind. Those are some elite Zwift races right there. Those are some of the best in the world. It's exciting stuff.
And the women there, Rob?
Oh, sorry. Emma O'Connor. So she's really stamping a mark on this series. She's had some great races and great performances. Georgina Thornton, Amy Hollenby, Bridget Kittle, and Hannah Prosser are closing in behind her.
And looking at the Bs now, we've got on the men's side, Tom Burgess really dominating the B category. We will be following this category tonight. There's some great little battles going on. Fons Katjan in 2nd place, David Goodall in 3rd, Paul Kropp in 4th, Justin Roy in 5th. On the women's side, Sarah Gorman leading that out, Sonia Foote in 2nd, Anna Longdill in 3rd, Britt Litton, who I've just seen in the start pen chatting away, in 4th, and Laura Wood in 5th.
That B category is going to be the race of the season. There's a lot going on there. In the Cs, Dave Spedding from Pete Marshall, John Evans, Christoph Pinnell and Brian Goods. And then in the women's, Hannah Martin. Watch out for that upgrade, Hannah. Vicky McNaught, Angie Wall, Lydia Myers and Deirdre Lack. There's some top quality riders in there, and we might see some upgrades after this race, I'd say.
And looking at the D category now on the men, it's Jeff Roberts. We've got Barry Eccles in 2nd, Martin Hill in 3rd, Michael Carden in 4th, Sean Willis in 5th. The woman, Ellie Boggs, I mean, I think she's almost had 3 from 3, so see how she goes on the sprint type courses. Michelle Lawton Hill in 2nd, Kylie Frost in 3rd. She's just been sending me messages of them on the pictures of them on the trainers, ready to go, full family affair. Cherie Scott in 4th and Amanda Needham in 5th. And actually, Rob, we've got the under-19 results coming through this week too, so I'll just get you to talk through those.
So Matthew Nay, he's having some exciting racing. Matheson Colquhoun, I think I got that name right. Grayson Westgate, he's always a name that I've got on my favourites list. Jaden Walker, Lucas Reed. And in the women, Hannah Prosser and Samantha Frost. So those two are the only women in the under-19 category. But it's great to see they're both hitting it out together.
Yeah, it is good. If anyone's watching who is under 19 and we haven't got them on the list, just let us know because We are just capturing those as we go along. Zwift Power doesn't have the under 19 category in there. So let me know and we'll make sure you're added. We will have an under 19 category at the e-try event coming up on July 10th, which we're busy preparing for. But we'll talk about that a bit later while the racing's on. Rob, how about you take us through the course for tonight?
Yeah, so this is I absolutely love this course, and it's a Champs-Élysées course. It's everyone knows it as the final stage of the Tour de France. It's not the final stage of our race series, but it's the one that people absolutely love because there's so many tactics to this race. It's a long straight road, but it's a very very difficult road. So there's a 3.2k lead in before you actually start the sprint, and from that point on, there's 5 laps around the circuit. And people who have ridden it before, if you haven't recce'd this course, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. It does climb all the way up to that sprint banner at the top of the climb. You go around the Arc de Triomphe, and you come all the way back down again. You go under the tunnel, which goes past the Louvre, and back towards the finish line at the on the Champs-Élysées. So as I say, long straights, but it's a long climb up to the Arc de Triomphe, and it's a long descent coming off it. But it's a tactical descent because it's actually not fast enough to get a super tuck unless you're in a really really fast moving group. So if you get dropped at the top, you're in a world of pain trying to get back on before you hit the bottom when it flattens out again. So it's going to be really exciting. Bonus sprint lap number 3, and that'll be at the banner at the top of the climb. Now, those that have raced this before will understand, and we talked about this the other day, Anna, is the triple power-up tactic, which is a winning move in this race.
I didn't tell any of my athletes about it because I wasn't sure I wanted to give them an unfair advantage.
It's too confusing. It's too confusing. Unless you know what you're doing, you can make a real meal of it. You've really got to know what you're doing. But if you can, it can be really, really good.
Yeah, I've used it once and managed to have a solo breakaway. I mean, the tip that I gave North Harbour Tri Club is asking me for a tip of the week each week, and this time it was in that last lap, so lap number 5, try and do a solo breakaway over the top of that sprint because you can get away. I've seen people get away, and a bunch sprint on this course, if you don't have sprinting legs, it's kind of a waste of time. You've got to manage to get away. So let's see if anyone manages to do that. We're about 2 minutes 30 away from the women's A and B starting. And then, like I said, we'll be following the B men. Rob,
now I've told the B men that we're following them, so we need to see a race. So I've threatened them if it's boring, we're going to move. So I've been assured by the big hitters in the B cat that they're going to be throwing down in this race, and this is a good one to watch. So fingers crossed it actually ends up this one.
Fantastic. And I think I'm not sure what category the Miller boys are in. There's Liam and his brother out there racing too, but I've also been told that they were inspired by the ACAT antics last week and they want to spice things up a bit. So might see the Millers out there trying to do something, or they're going to be wearing horrific kit choices. So one or the other.
When we come back to that race last week, and that was one of the best ACAT races that I've seen. Just had everything in it. It was hard from the start. There was tactics. There was massive explosions. There were comebacks, and there was a world-class sprint at the finish. So, that was the race to watch, and let's hope we can see this, similar things in the races to come. But they're good that the boys acknowledged that race because they were watching one of the best races you would see.
Yeah, it was. I think as well having the bonus points on offer does really mix things up a bit because people, you get 10 points if you cross that bonus line first, and that can make a real difference. I already saw when I was doing the results late last night for the race before, it made some big differences at the tops of the table. So we'll see what's happening on lap 3. I know people have been messaging me asking what specific kilometre that is. So just after 17 kilometres will be when they hit that bonus sprint on lap 3. But about 30 seconds away from the women kicking off, we'll head down to them to watch their race start. 'Cause it's always exciting when they've got a flat start to just see the kind of watts that they're pushing up. About 25 seconds away, it looks like a good field out there in the A and B women category. But Rob, if you're thinking about the A's and B's for the women, who have you got your eye on for this kind of a course?
Assuming it's going to come down to a sprint finish, we've still got to go with Emma O'Connor. I think she's got the sprint power. We might see a breakaway. Amy Hollenby, I think, has got a good breakaway in her. But the thing is, you've got to commit so far out. You've got to be going up that climb on that last lap, prepared to push into it. And that's where the move's going to be. If no one's going to get away on that climb, it's going to end up as a bunch sprint. And I think you give it to Emma O'Connor,
Yeah,
just knowing what she's been able to do.
got eyes on Emma O'Connor now, just pushing through there. She's in the, looks like just the navy blue top, but Georgina Thornton, she had some supporters out there last week and she was pushing really hard, so she's already moved off the front here.
Yeah, it's the pace is on. They're mid fives, some to six. So we always talk about the start as being crucial, but in this race in particular, it's so flat. There's no let up at all. If you're trying to draft and soft pedal, you're going to get spat out the back. So you got to be pedaling hard and pushing through. See a few disc wheels in there. Carly Francis, she's done her homework. She's a cryogen rider, so she's probably raced this course a few times. She knows the benefit of a disc. Looks like there's another disc there. I can't tell who's riding that, but there's a few Tron bikes. So there's a lot of homework being done in this race as to knowing what wheels and bike combination works best.
Yeah,
Natalie Smith there, she's on the Tron bike. That's good.
She had a great race last week as well, so doing very well. Nat Smith she is in the B category, I think, but she is at risk from the performance last week, and seeing her in this front group now that she could go up to A cats, which is always good, means that you're performing well and you're seeing some improvements. I've just seen the B men start too. We've got Gordon McCauley in the B cat this evening.
So he'll go. He goes from the gun. He'll be gone. He'll be off. I know how he races. It's exciting. Just looking at the women's race, I'm glad to see Britt Litton's in there. Fiona Gallagher there, she's in there as well. So these are very, very strong bike riders. They love a flat course. They love a hard course. And Britt's on the disc. So yep, Britt's someone who races a lot. She knows how this race is played, and she knows the disc wheel is an advantage. Actually, she asked me earlier today what would be an advantage. So yeah, she's obviously got a good garage of wheels there. She's done her work.
Just see some socials coming in here. Go Maddock, so that's Cherie Scott. Have seen her name on the start list there, so good to see. And there's a lot of the B Cat men giving you a bit of grief in the socials too, Rob. So
yeah, I'm glad. I'm good. I'm glad. We'll be talking about them later. But as we go through this tunnel here under the Louvre, this is a crucial little section. It's a climb out of the tunnel, and it's not steep and it's not long, but it's enough that if you're at the back, it just strings you out a little bit. So I've always told people to make sure they're at the front when they hit the bottom of that descent through the tunnel, so they can even sag climb up it, but you don't want to be stuck at the back. And as we come around the corner, it's onto the flat section. I ran down this road about 4 years ago at the Paris Marathon in the opposite direction, actually. Yeah, it was remarkable. It was an amazing place to. Yeah, it was cool. It was awesome. And just now we see someone who's just like Amy Hollenby. She's just making a little move off the front by the looks of it. Just keeping things fast. They don't want to see it slowing down. They don't want to see it leading up at all. So the pace is on.
Yeah, they've had a little break there. I see. I think it's Hannah Prosser, who's just dropped off the pace a little bit there. And if I can pull in the A category
and
results
Heather
here.
Neal. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, Hannah's with that group, but actually, oh no, she's not. She's 7 seconds down. She's with Heather Neal, and Heather's a very strong Zwift racer, very strong road cyclist. So maybe they just didn't start off fast enough. Maybe they just missed that start. They didn't have the watts up enough.
You can see them behind. Distance. Yeah, I mean, will they catch back on, Rob? Do you think, or is that the 7 seconds? It's pulling away.
Yeah, it depends if it's 7 seconds at the bottom of that climb. I think the stronger riders could get across. Hannah and Heather maybe could get across, but I think that's a crucial move to miss that gap. They really need to commit to it. But the hard thing is they're trying to chase down 9 or 10 riders who are moving very, very fast. So they've got to be riding faster. They've got to be riding a watt and probably 1 to 1.5 watts per kilo quicker, harder than the riders at the front of that group to know that they're pulling them back. 6 seconds. Well, they're committing to it. They're on the move. They recognise it's there and it's had an effect. And it's a long race. So, yep, anything could happen. And we come to some power ups.
This is the beginning of lap 1, and now they'll be getting some power ups. So they had that lead in. It was about 3 kilometers. Now they're into lap 1 proper. You can see the Arc de Triomphe in the distance. Just looks beautiful. They'll hit this climb, which heads to the sprint. Now, we're not entirely sure from Zwift which power ups have been activated, but we will see pretty quickly when people start dropping them whether they're going to have the infamous ghost power up. Do you want to talk a little bit through what that is, Rob, if they do end up having that one?
Yeah, the Ghost is the Ghost. Well, I think you'll agree that the Ghost is probably one of the most valuable ones to get, because if you're prepared to make an attack, it's the one you want to use, because you get 15 seconds before you reappear, and if you've done the attack properly, you're suddenly up the road. The other thing that you can do if you're getting gapped off and if you've got a bunch of riders with you is you can use that Ghost to attack to get back onto the group ahead of you and not drag anyone with you, which is also like it's like almost a defensive move. But the Ghost is a really, really effective one if you use it properly. If not, which we see now, one's being used. Is that a Ghost that's being
It's a
used? No,
feather.
that's a feather.
Oh, it
Who's
was
using
a
that? Emma.
ghost. Yes, Amy Hollenby had a
Yeah,
ghost. She just appeared.
yeah.
Awesome.
And Emma and Amy have both dropped their power ups at the same time, and that's had an effect, and that's impressive. So straight away they've got a second now. They've got to keep moving. They've got to keep the pressure on. They've got to break to 2 seconds out, 3 seconds, and it is still climbing. They can do a lot of damage here, and there's two extremely strong riders
Oh wow, this is
who
amazing. So
who
they will
yeah.
have the feather, the truck, and the ghost. So the ghost, like Rob said, you disappear for 10 seconds and reappear. It's a great surprise move. The
Yeah.
feather, you drop your weight by a certain amount, which would be great for this uphill sprint. And then the truck, a great one for catching back on after the sprint, I think, because you'll get a bit of a draft benefit around the top and then can kind of ease back in. So yeah, great to see those different power-ups coming in. And these
Um,
guys have pulled away.
yeah, Georgina's coming across. So I suspect Emma used that feather at the time, and as soon as Amy saw that happen, she knew straight away to drop that Ghost and go with her. Georgina Thornton's done really well to close, and they've only got 2 seconds on that group behind. So that group with Britt, Fiona, those guys are all going to be riding hard, and they know that as soon as they hit the top, which they're on now, it flattens, but it doesn't get any easier. So the three at the front have to keep moving. The ones behind have to keep pushing through. I've just had a message from one of the guys who was a one of the B favourites in the B, Dave Braveheart Goodall, has had a mechanical on the pen, so he's
Oh,
out.
devastating.
Disappointing.
It
So
is
that he was,
best four races count, so that's
yeah.
okay. You can afford to drop a couple of races with technicals. We will jet now over to the men's race. They're just coming through the sprint. They've got a bit of a break out the front. We're following Gordon McCauley here. I mean, amazing cyclist. We've got Tom Burgess.
Tom the Bomb Burgess has made his move off the front, and he talked about this. He's got his 4 second gap. He loves this sort of thing. He's in his element. He's gone over the top of that climb and he's stretching it out. So he's going to take some riders with him, but more importantly for him, he's going to drop riders off that group. He wants to thin that group out and keep as few in there as possible. And of course, GMC Gordy McCauley's at the front of that chase pack, riding them back down, which works to his tactics. Absolutely. That's a large group though. There's some riders that have really hung in well there. Mike Tong, one of my own athletes. He's done really well. Good to see him in that group. And Wayne Ross, who's another rider from probably one of Gordy's customers actually from up at the Hibiscus Coast. He's riding very well as well. Damon Clark, we can see him's there. Grant Clifton, Cole Burmester, that's Moss's brother. Moss is in there somewhere, so the battle of the brothers might be going on, and I think Moss
Oh,
might
it
have actually
might
been
be.
dropped out of that group.
Oh,
So
that's going to
that's
be
interesting.
devastating for Moss. Not good at all. That battle of the brothers, you never want to get dropped on that first lap. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I'll try and
interesting.
get the results of the B categories up so we can just see who's sitting where and where the sort of little battles are in this category, which we haven't followed before in the race, the men's B. So we can just see here the B category racing. Tom Burgess, who saw out the front, Fons Katjan, David Goodall, Paul Crop, and Justin Roy. So those are the players we're looking at in this race tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like there's probably close to 40 riders in this front group, even though it's stretched out a few seconds. They're all pretty much in touch, so that's a decent sized group. Finn Orr, he's a young athlete, Auckland City Tri Club, used to go to St Kentigern's College. He's good to see him racing there, but this is a good sized group. Riders like Tom, Paul Crop, Gordy, they're going to want to stretch this out each lap up that climb, just a little bit more effort each time to try and drop some of these riders off. Because what you don't want is a strong sprinter sitting in the back of that pack, not knowing that they're there, and just saving their legs. I'm seeing a few names popping up there, which are in the back there that I know are strong riders. So they're playing a real tactical game here, and it's just going to be interesting to see if the patrons of this pack are able to get to the front and dominate them.
Yeah, I do just want to note we see a couple of names coming up with
Are in the front
brackets
here.
NZ Bro behind them. Just want to have a shout out to those guys. They're a new Zwift team, so I've just seen them starting a team on social media, getting pretty active. They're sort of emerged out of this Try and Z series, and they're just so getting into the Zwift racing that they're wanting to start a full New Zealand race league to take part in some other Zwift races. So you can see a
Good
few
stuff.
people there, and if you're keen, I've got some info that went through in the results last week. And also just check out their Facebook page. They're getting really, really excited about it and doing some cool things for New Zealand eSport racing.
That's awesome. That's good to see. And I know that was something that they really want to. Moss is still on the pack. Oh, Cole's got time to type.
I know.
Oh, that's you know what that is. That's a flex. That is a flex. He's like, I'm sitting in here. I'm just going to type, just so everybody knows I'm feeling pretty fresh. I'm not one of those ones that can type while I'm trying to ride. But there's Moss. He's at the front. Okay, so I didn't see his name. Sorry, Moss. Apologise.
So we've got Battle of the Brothers there, Moss and Cole. It's going pretty good. There's going to be a lot of trash talk between them. There always is every week. Cole is looks. He's just playing a game here. He's saying he's pretty tired. Yeah. I don't know if he is.
No, really. I don't fall for that sort of carry on at all. There's a few riders that have been spat out the back of this group on that descent, which we said is so important. It's now down to 36 riders, and it was 44 at the top of the climb. So those riders who were soft pedaling on the way down, hoping they get a bit of a free ride, they've been spat out the back. So it's not one of those races you can do that. It's all about commitment.
Ian Gold falling off the back here desperately. Yeah. He's getting in a bad zone there and he has to get back onto this group because they will be moving very, very quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he's probably got to have to go 2 watts kilo higher for probably 30 or 40 seconds, which is a big risk. The only thing that might fall in his favour is they get to that little dip under the tunnel, and coming up the other side, that might ease up a little bit. If he can keep the pressure on, he should get back in there and he should get on that draft. But it's not a nice place to be when you see those seconds ticking away. It's going to be tough. We'd like to come back and see how that goes in the end. I'm just looking, just getting a quick update on the A-Cats to see what's going on in there, and it looks like they've got about 27 riders in their front pack, which is a solid size group, and all the big hitters that we'd expect are in there, and they're all pushing big numbers. So no surprises there. But this B race is where it's at, because this is actually playing out to be a really, really exciting race.
Yeah,
Looking
I'm excited
to.
We just in the women's race we had Emma O'Connor and Georgina Thornton with a bit of a 2-woman breakaway, but they have now been swallowed up a little bit. I have a feeling Amy Hollenby may have had a technical because I don't see her in this group anymore, and she kind of disappeared from that breakaway. So unfortunately, I think Amy may have had a bit of a technical. We call it a Zwift technical. It'll be similar to having a flat tire in real life. Just maybe your Wi-Fi's dropped out or something like that. So it looks like she's disappeared here, but that opens it up for some of the other women in this category.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of the racing. That's sometimes what happens, and it happened to one of our Kiwi riders at the World Championships this year, where his trainer actually packed out on him for about 20 metres before the finish line. He ended up freewheeling across the line to come 4th place, and he probably could have gone on and won it. And it's just one of those things that happen in this sort of racing. It's just like you say, it's like a flat tire, it's like a broken chain. Nothing you can do about it at the time, but it's just unfortunate. But you're right. I think she has disappeared from that group. So maybe her Wi-Fi dropped out or something. That's opened it up for these other riders, which they did very well to come back together. They know how to play the game, and there's Britt on the back of that group, just saving her legs, waiting for this little.
She's a wily rider, isn't she?
Yeah, she won't be talking herself up at all.
No. So interesting to see. Oh, Sonia Foote in that team as well. So in that little group, Sonia Foote, the very elite mountain biker, New Zealand mountain biker, I think competed at a couple of World Championship events. So she'd be one to have my eye on, I think. She's a bit more new to the Zwift game, so you can see Britt Lytton there, just in that pink cap and the black kit. She's playing it pretty smart, staying in the draft, but Sonia Foote's got some watts.
Yeah, I'll throw some numbers at you right now. So in terms of average watts per kilo, for example, Emma O'Connor's at 4.2. She's working really high, really, really hard. She's driving that pace. Nat Smith's 4.2. Georgina Thornton's 4.2. Brittany Litton's 3.4. So Fiona Gallagher 3.5. So these riders that are sitting at the back are saving a lot of energy, waiting for the right time to attack. The riders that are riding hard, hoping to spread it out, hoping to stretch it out, they're doing the way they want to race it, but these other riders are able to sit in there in that draft and save their legs a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out, because the stronger riders will know there's really only a couple of places to attack on this course, and we're coming up to it now, obviously up this climb. But can they attack enough to break those other riders who are sitting back a little bit, saving their legs?
And if we look at what's just popped up on screen, Rob, that's the times they went through the first sprint. Now, this isn't an indication of how fast they can sprint, because they would have just sort of rolled through, but good sort of note there that Georgina Thornton taking out that first sprint where there are no bonus points. So it'll be lap 3 where we look at that in a greater detail. This is currently lap 2. But Georgina Thornton, I think from the race last week, she was very, very strong. And her and Emma O'Connor have got a nice little battle going on there. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they'll be spending, and they know that the series points are massive in this race, and they won't want either one to get ahead of them. But the other riders that are in this group can benefit from that cat and mouse and those tactics. This is where the hurt goes on right on this little climb. It only goes to 3%, maybe a little bit higher than that, but it's just enough to really stretch you out, because you've been going for a long time. And it does get to the top of that climb, and it does flatten out. You can see that stretching out now. Fiona Gallagher's coming across. She's doing well to sit in there. Britt's there with a pink cap. Georgina and Emma are at the front doing their dominant game. And it's a great way to race. Stay at the front, be safe the whole way. Men's race, still a big field.
Yeah. Just this is a massive field, so we're not seeing anyone trying any breakaways. They're all staying together. They've just come through that sprint banner for lap 2, heading around the Arc de Triomphe. Then they hit that downhill. But yeah, it was stringing out a little bit on that climb. A few people were putting in a few digs, but nothing that's there's a little gap there though, with Fiddy and Orr leading a little chase here.
Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is they're riding very similar numbers to the women's race. So, you expect on a flat course like this, the guys will be able to put out higher watts anyway, just because they're bigger in mass. But they're actually not putting, relative to their own body weight, they're not putting a huge amount of effort in the women, and it's a smaller women's pack. So that women's race is actually really, really hot. This men's race is becoming a little bit more tactical, and
Just
I don't believe it. I don't believe that.
I'm not going to get too graphic, because people are probably eating dinner while they're watching this. But the amount of people who tell me that they've vomited after these races is just phenomenal. People are pushing like crazy with all these little internal battles going on with all their mates, their brothers, their mums, their dads. So I'm not surprised to see that note. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but if you can vomit and type at the same time, then where your priorities at? That's.
Oh man.
But we're on. Yeah. But we're on this descent now, and people, the strong riders will sit at the front, keep the pace high. The back ones will be drafting, but have to be very, very careful that gaps aren't opening up. I wouldn't want to be the second or third rider to the back and risking having someone open up a gap on you. Jay Wilson, he's just at the back there. He's just hanging in there. It's a dangerous place to be. Damon Clark, he's nicely positioned in the middle there. He's getting a nice free ride.
Did Finney and Orr make it on to that pack?
No, it doesn't look like it. No, might be 2 seconds, maybe.
Wow.
It's just updated on Zwift Power now. I don't think he has. No, he's 5 seconds down by the looks of it.
So if you get dropped around that part at the top, the gap just explodes when the pack hits that downhill, because the pack speed is just so much faster. You can see Cunningham here with Norton, and then Trent Trillop just a little bit ahead. So yeah, I mean, you've got to just deal with the pain up that climb through the sprint, because it's you're going to get dropped on that downhill. They are, just to note, coming through, this is lap number 2, they will be heading around into their lap 3. Now that's where we do have the sprint bonus, so it's at around 17 kilometers. So we'll stay with the men for that, because the women are just at around 13k. So we'll check this out, because this is where the action's going to happen as they come through into this lap 3.
I'm going to give you my predictions for the sprint now because I think it's a good time to do that because we want to see we want to know who's going to be coming through. And I mean, I've always looked at Tom Burgess as probably being the strongest rider in the race, and anyone who wants to take him on has to go from a long way out. So if they take Tom to the line, Tom will probably roll them, but other riders to watch out for. So Kiwi Matt, I know he said he just had a puke, but he's actually got some incredible watts on him. So he's at 12.1, 15 seconds. Those are some big numbers. Cole, he's very, very strong. He's pretty similar to Tom. I think Tom's probably a little bit more crafty in the way he races. So it might be interesting to see how Cole plays that game. But yeah, there's some big numbers there. If Kiwi Matt comes through, then I don't believe that. I don't believe him about his his vomiting.
Oh,
I'm calling it
God.
out now.
Yeah, this sprint is gonna light things up. We'll probably see some people breaking away a bit. I think if it is an uphill sprint, I mean, we're both triathletes, Rob, but if you were a cyclist, put yourself in the shoes of, maybe a Pete Sagan or something like that. How would you approach an uphill sprint on a Champs-Élysées course like
uh,
this?
well, it's so hard. I mean, if you know that you've got a very, very high power, short duration, you'd wait right till the end. But the risk is if someone who has that longer duration power on them gets a gap on you, then all the watts in the world aren't going to get you across that gap. So knowing your strengths, knowing where your strengths lie, we're going to see some people go hard at the bottom, and we're going to see people wait at the top. And remembering, if they've got a power up, it flattens out before it gets to the sprint banner. If you've got an aero and you drop that 3 or 4 seconds before the sprint banner, and you're already going at decent pace, you will drop anyone who's around you. That's to say, has someone got a ghost that's already dropped it and they're already up the road from you? The other thing is there's a feather. So a feather might go early. And try and get a lead and try and hang on. That's a nice way to do it because if you drop the feather too late, often you're not going fast enough anyway.
I've just
And because the
seen
feathers,
Finian Orr in this group as well. So he did manage to
he might have got across.
he got across. So that's great work from Finian because there was a little gap there. So obviously he sprinted to get back up, which may hurt him on this bonus point sprint coming up. But I've got my
Yeah,
eyes
he
on
is in
Gordon
there.
Macaulay too, because I know if you're thinking about who's probably one of the most competitive cyclists in this field and knows how to play the game, that would be Gordon Macaulay. So we'll follow,
Yep.
see what he does, what kind of watts he can put out. But big group here coming to this. This is we've got the women in sight too, so they're just about a kilometre behind the men. So we've got replays going too, so we'll make sure we cut across to the women as soon as we see these men do their sprint, and then we'll see the women do their sprint.
Great. So watch out for Tom with the green wheels and the Cryogen jersey. He's probably going to be the one who knows that he's got the best watts in the field and knows how to use them properly. We can see he's at the front. He's a time trialist at heart, so he likes riding it hard from a long way out. So we will see what happens. They're going to pick up power up through here. We'll see if anyone
Does the
uses one.
triple?
Yeah, that's my move. That's what I would be doing. And we looks like there's no one who's doing anything yet. So maybe they've all used them, or maybe they're holding on to them. But if you haven't got a sprint, if you haven't got a good power up, if you don't think it plays to your game, then I'd be getting rid of it now. Getting ready to pick up. There goes a feather. So I
Yeah,
don't know
so
why
people
that
are
was.
dropping it. Maybe they
Yeah,
think
dropping
that's
them
the
early.
sprint line. This is
No,
where
no.
maybe people who haven't recce'd the
Okay.
course need to know that that's actually not the sprint line. That is the end of lap 2, and this is now coming into lap 3. Now this is where the action happens. The sprint is not too far away. It's just kind of halfway up this climb. There'll
Yeah.
be green lines on the right hand side of the road, but we're seeing some early moves here. Tom Burgess
So
breaking away a little bit.
Mike Tong, F. Smith. Who is F. Smith? That's a new name that we haven't seen here much before. Yaroslav Bobek. Tom's just going to sit on his wheel. I think Tom's going to roll him. Unfortunately, Yaroslav probably doesn't have the watts. I don't think Mike would have the watts to hold. But
Fons here. Massive attack from
look at that.
Fons capturing, coming through
So
over the top of Tom
so he's
Burgess. Wow.
so he's using his draft, and he's taking a big advantage by riding through the group, and he's doing it right. He's pushing hard off the front.
Early attack.
Now,
That is early.
early. Yeah, he's still got, when he gets to that green line, he's still got 15 seconds of sprint to go. and he's got 2 seconds on 3 seconds on Tom. So 1 second on Tom. Here comes Tom. We're going to see him come to the screen. There he goes, and he's on his own. So Tom is going to take that for sure.
Let's have a look.
He's not going to ease up.
Anyone is chasing behind. I see Paul Crop hitting some high numbers, but if we pan across, that is a gap.
That's a gap. That's a gap.
Will he carry this through after the bonus points he will have gathered here and try and have a solo breakaway?
I think if he had another rider with him, he probably would, but I don't think. Now he's got 15 seconds to go, so you can just see how far away Tom had to commit to that, which suits his racing style perfectly. But yeah, I don't think he will be able to hold that lead 4 seconds. He kind of needs 15 seconds, doesn't he, according to your estimations? But what he has done is he's created a gap of about 5 riders who have got 10 seconds, or Tom's got 10 seconds on those riders behind. So there's 4 or 5 riders that may get across to him, and that might be the move for the race. It might break that field into half straight away.
Now we've got the women's race heating up here. Much different, much more cat and mouse. It looks like they are coming across to just start their sprint very shortly, and this I think is going to blow apart this women's field.
I think this is going to play into Emma O'Connor's hands. I think Brittany's going to have a crack, knowing that Brittany's strengths lie in this sort of move, but they have to make it now. So here goes the feathers. Emma's going to ride away from that.
And the ghost there from Georgina Thornton.
Wow, that caught us out.
This is close.
Wow, look at that.
O'Connor and Troon and Georgina, amazing. So O'Connor took that out as well. She was great at gathering those bonus points last week. Looks like she's taken it out with, I think Troon was in second, Georgina Thornton in third. And a little bit of a battle there for fourth and fifth to get the remnants of those bonus points. So that was a great job there. We might watch the replay of the women's one. The men's one was a bit of a rollover with Burgess there really taking that out, and the men have all come back together.
Tom the long bomb Burgess. But no, that women's race was great because that was that sprint was great because that was use of the power-ups perfectly. You know, you could see the ghost was being used, you could see the feather was being used, and it was just smart racing. And what it's done is it's stretched that group out now. Brittany's 2 seconds down, Sonia's a second down. They can get back in, they've got to commit to it, but it does some damage to those riders. Meanwhile, Emma knows they're going to come back. She's probably soft pedaling a little bit, getting a little bit of recovery. And these other riders are having to push hard to get across. Looks like Fiona Gallagher's made that move.
Let's just check out what's happened in the replay here. So I just want to see, that's where they crossed the sprint banner there. So you could just see that rider disappear. So obviously a rider had a ghost. I think that was Georgina Thornton, and then she'll reappear after about 10 seconds in that mix. Great power-up use. The feather, probably the best one, I'd have to say. Emma O'Connor, though, sitting there second wheel, using that draft to perfection. They come across, Troon opens up.
She's at 10 watts kilo.
Massive. And you see Georgina popped up right in front of them. So great job there, but she just got rolled by the feathers, which keeps going a little bit longer.
The great thing about that ghost power-up is Georgina would have been able to see the others around her. She's the only one that disappears from the screen. She still sees around her, so she can still put an attack together and know how much effect it's having. The other riders have no idea where she is, and suddenly she turns up and she's at the front of that sprint.
That's great.
So beautiful way to use it.
Do just want to note Sonia Foote and Britt Lytton have dropped off this pack, so they didn't manage to catch back on, and that's pretty hard for those two. They're going to have to work together to get to this group, because I would have thought at the finish they could have been some pretty heavy hitters for the finish line points. Yeah,
that 7 seconds is going to make a massive difference. So they need to commit. They need the group in front to sit up and start looking at each other, which does happen in these races. But whether or not it's going to happen tonight, we won't know. But that's hard. Those two girls would have been absolutely at their limit just to keep that gap. In fact, Sonia may have made that group. Oh no, she hasn't. No, she's 9 seconds down. So that's really split that group up a lot. Race of the season.
Damon Clark's loving this race. I like how people who are racing are also getting in on the socials. So it's a bit meta. They're watching themselves race in their own virtual world. So there we go. That's great to see.
He's spending a lot of time at the front, so he must have plenty of energy in reserve. Let's watch for him for the sprint. But I'm impressed to see Natalie Smith still in that front group. being considering she's racing as a B, she's riding out of her skin, so she may actually be on that verge of that upgrade just by the nature of the way she's racing this. It's just making her ride so much harder. But yeah, that's a key group now. It's a really, really important group that's just formed here, and I don't think that Britt and Sonia are going to come back.
No, I think it's too hard with this group here. They're not mucking around. We see Wilson there up
No,
at 4 watts a kg on the front. So they're riding at 41k an hour. That's really fast. I mean, that's, kind of similar around what some of the men are riding now too. So, these women
quite
aren't
right.
messing
Yeah,
around. They're going very quick. They're not actually too far behind where the men are. So about 800 meters behind them. So for a small group, they are absolutely trucking along.
yeah. And in terms of watts per kilo, they're the stronger riders in that group, and the women's race is sitting over 4. There's some pretty conservative riders in that group as well, so we might start seeing some riders who have some confidence in the fact that they haven't been riding as hard as some of the others, and if they know themselves well, they might know to be able to push a bit of effort. In the men's race, for example, that relatively a lot lower watts per kilo than the women's race. So the men, not saying that they're dawdling, they're just playing a much more tactical game. The women's race is full gas,
Yeah.
open the throttle and go, and trying to hang on. This men's race is a little bit more of a look around, see who's got the legs, put a bit
Yeah.
of an attack in. But we might start seeing, now that sprint has gone, we might start seeing some attacks coming from this next time up the climb, because they have split it down to 18 riders thereabouts for that front group. So we might start seeing that split up even more.
Yeah, I do
Uh,
just want to note what's happening in the Season D women. So they're all racing together. Looks like a front group of about 7 riders now. So Martina Fellman in there, Alexa Westphal, Rachel Cunningham, Charlotte Brown, Deirdre Lack, Miss Superfly, who's Victoria Wiltshire, Hannah Martin, it's one of yours, Rob.
yeah,
So
Hannah's riding
she's
well.
7 riders up in the front group, and then they're chased by a pack of 8. So that's quite dynamic in the Season Ds, just because that pack of 8 will have a little bit more of a draft benefit compared to that pack of 7. But yeah, that's split as well on that bonus sprint. So a lot happening over lap 3 as we watch the men now. They'll be coming into their penultimate lap 4, 5-lap race tonight.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the A race and the men, and all the names that we'd expect would be in that group, and it's 14 riders, and they've got a minute and a quarter up on the next group down. And any names that have missed that front group that I can see here that are crucial: Tyrone Hallier, Emma O'Connor's husband,
Oh, I didn't know that.
he's dropped out of that group. Brody Madrick, he's dropped out of that group as well. So Grayson Westgate, he hadn't made that split, and he's an A+ rider. So there must have been a fair amount of work going on early to break that up. John Story's just hanging in there by the looks of it.
Oh, great. I did actually want to shout out to John Story. So he is a Olympic rower, and I have been called out by his mum to say I was getting it wrong,
Uh-oh.
particularly what boat he was in, and I'm probably going to get it wrong again. Wait, I'm pulling up the message. He is in a double, not a pair. So
Ooh,
I learned a little bit about rowing
crucial.
this week.
Yeah.
A crucial mistake. So John Story went to the Olympics in the double, which I think means, and someone watching who's a rower will be able to let me know if I've got it right or wrong. I think the double means that they've got 2 pedals each, so a pedal in each hand, whereas the pair they just have one each. So yeah, there we go.
I like
Sorry.
watching it. I like watching it. I just can't answer that question.
No, I don't know the specifics, but yeah, John's mum is probably tuning in, and there's a nice little battle of the brothers-in-law with Bobby Kells and John Story. So we'll see how that pans out. And then tonight we've got Moss and Cole, and it might be good to and that's Moss Burmester obviously went to Com Games for swimming and Olympics, I think, as well.
Olympics.
So yeah,
Yep.
quite a few Olympians out racing from a whole lot of disciplines. And Gordon, pretty sure he must have gone to the Olympics for some track cycling.
And Gordon's won a bronze medal in the time trial at the Delhi Olympics, Commonwealth Games, sorry, and he's won multiple New Zealand road titles as well. And he now owns a bike shop, and he's an all-round good bugger. So it's great to
Nice.
see him in the race.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we talk about the quality of our riders. We've got in the elite men's in the A race, we've got riders who will wear yellow jerseys at the Tour of Southland. We've got riders who are professional Ironman athletes. We've got riders who are up and coming under 19 triathletes. So we've got everybody. We've got some amazing athletes racing. But this men's B race, as they come up this next sprint banner, we can see Tom's on the front there stringing it out again. And he's just throwing the watts down. He knows when to do the work, because I saw him sitting on a little bit before in the flat section. He comes to the front when he has to. Yeah. He opens it up, stretches it out, lets it come back together again, knowing that work would have just had a little bit of an effect on the people that were just hanging in there. He's a smart rider. I'm happy to see Damon Clark still in there. He was umming and ahhing, a bit doubtful today when I spoke to him, so he's still in there, which is great to see. Gordy McCauley's still there. We've still got a great field in this, this A race.
It's quite interesting, Rob, that the sprint leaderboard that just popped up on screen, Tom Burgess didn't actually have the fastest sprint time. I mean, it is first across the line that gets the bonus points, but he was fourth fastest, which shows that there was a bit of a battle going on behind him with a lot of people utilising the draft. So although he wasn't the fastest, he just played his tactics better. He got away early, and I think we don't finish at that point in this race. We finish earlier at the orange banner, but I just feel like he knows this game too well to let people sort of catch him out.
Well, he would have seen that he had 4 seconds, and all he had to do was just keep pedaling harder than they were pedaling, and he could let them come up to him a little bit, and almost soft pedal over the line. Very smart way to race. I see Brad Dixon in that front group as well. He's a triathlon coach from Tauranga, and it's great to see him having a great race. He's always been a good, strong athlete. So there's some names here that we see a lot. Grant Tuffrey, I've raced with him on the road a lot as well, and he's a super athlete. So there's names here that we see on the road and in Zwift, and they're crossing over really, really effectively.
Let's just see where the leaderboard's sitting for this B category as well. So Tom Burgess, he's obviously doing very well. Fons Captured, who we're following on screen now, he's in second. David Goodall in third. Paul Kropp in fourth. Paul Kropp had, I think, the fastest sprint on that bonus one, so he must have come top 3. And then Justin Roy rounding out in fifth. So they're the ones that I see Jay Roy in there. So they're all in that front group, but I think you said David had a mechanical.
Yeah. Dave was left sitting in the pen. Dave's watching now, giving Tom encouragement. I've seen messages go through to him.
And I like it. There's a lot of banter going on, and I just wondering in that men's race as well if Yarrow has made that front group. He started his sprint early as well, maybe a little bit too early. He's actually lives down the road from me and does all our electrical work at home. So he's known as Yarrow, Yarrow, the electrician around our house. So good to see him also getting involved in the Zwift side of things.
Well, I can see on Zwift Power Live that he had been dropped.
Gutted.
He's with Kiwi Matt and Mike Tong, Ekin Bruce. Those guys had just been dropped off the back there. Moss looks like Moss has fallen out of that group as well. So Cole is still up there, I think. Cole's up there. Moss, for sure. Moss is 30 seconds down on him. So that's that Battle of the Brothers. It might have been signed off.
I think so. Looking at the women's race, we were talking about Britt Lytton previously. She has now dropped back to this chase pack. So this is a pretty decent chase pack. You've got Britt Lytton, Laura Wood, Sarah Gorman, Heather Neal.
They're hammering along.
They're absolutely smashing it.
They're smashing it.
44 seconds back there. I don't think they will catch up, but they are doing very good. I just wonder if Britt's strategy may have been to stay with the lead pack to get the bonus points and then sort of drop back, knowing that she needed to save herself for the BCAT result.
Yeah, and I mean these riders are still in the money for the points. Even though they've been dropped, it's a small group up front, so they've still got a race for the line. Every place counts. I see a Ghost was just used in as well. Who was that? That might have been Heather Neal. So yeah, I mean this is still an important place to be. These guys are definitely not riding for nothing, and you can tell with them doing 55k an hour that they're They're not mucking around. They're still sitting mid 3s to 4 watts a kilo, which is right up there, very very high. So the race is on.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like we've got quite a few of those top B women in this group. So Sarah Gorman's there. I've seen her name in this chase pack. We've also got Anna Longdale there too. Sonia Foote, I know, Britt Lytton, and Laura Woods. So this is going to be quite the battle for the B Cat women. Although I think Natalie Smith actually may have been moved up to A Cat after last week's performance, because we'll have to see. She's not sitting in the top 5 in the B category women, and I do kind of remember that she may have been pushed up. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen last week. It'll happen tonight, because she is coming into some serious form.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a tough place to be when you're on the cusp. You're either up or down, but as you know, it's better to race up, because it helps your points overall, and it also means that you're racing at a higher level, high performance. I'm just taking some quick glance over at the men's A race, and it's strung out a little bit more again, but it looks like that group is still kind of together. Bobby Cowles is still in there. Mark
Nice.
Bosch is still there. Any names that have been dropped out of there? It doesn't look like there's anyone extra that's been dropped out. Aaron Bleakley, he's a super strong A plus rider as well. So there's still 14 riders coming to the line with that race. So they should be finishing soon, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed since we've been talking, this chase pack has pulled in 7 seconds on that lead group. So they're 38 seconds behind. I still
Wow.
think it's a bridge too far. They're about to start the last lap of this race when they come around the bottom turns. But yeah, 38 seconds. The front group probably needs to be a little bit concerned here that they may, they can't ease off too much, because that chase group's not mucking around.
Well, they know that Emma and Georgina know that all they've got to do is come to the finish line together, because the points are important for them. So they might just start setting up and going to the other girls. Well, you guys do some work now. We've been driving the pace hard. We split the group up. We're going to wait for the finish. Can the rest of you come and do some work? And it's often that cat and mouse. The sitting up at the front is just enough for the group behind, who are still committed to the race, still wanting to try and catch them, just to be getting a little bit of momentum together and start rolling through, taking even turns and chopping away at their lead a little bit. So yeah, you're right. It's only 38 seconds, and it's not out of the question, especially when that second group there's actually more riders in that second group than in the first. So they may have the benefit of numbers, and they may have the benefit of two of them being knowing that there's more than just the crossing the line
Yeah.
placing. You're going
Do
for the
just want
overall.
to bring our attention to this men's B race. They've just gone under the lap 5 banner, so they are now currently on their last lap, and it's a big group here, so this is not whittled
Yeah,
down. And this is starting to get a bit nerve-wracking, because no one's really put their nose in the wind that much. There'll be, I would say, quite a few fresh legs in there. And yeah, what do you think, Rob? I mean,
yeah.
is someone going to
Well,
try a breakaway, or are they just going to take it to the line?
no, because the only person who could really break away and make it last is Tom. And even though he's moving to the front, I think he's only doing that just to string things out a little bit, make things hurt. He hasn't actually gone off the front. Um, he's waiting for the finish. I'm sure he's waiting for the finish. He knows that it's going to come down to a gallop. There are a couple of riders that are pushing the pace. There's lots of power that's being used.
Yeah.
But the strongest rider in that pack hasn't made a move, because he knows that he's actually got the watts for the finish. He must have a lot of confidence in his sprint. It's going to be a great sprint to watch, actually, because I love seeing a field sprint when there's so many riders in it,
Yeah.
especially when there's power ups being gobbled up as well.
They're actually coming through and lapping a rider ahead of them. So we're seeing Cole Burmester putting in quite a dig on the front here. I'm just wondering if this is a move. 5.4 watts per kg from Cole Burmester. He is absolutely drilling it up this climb, and it is
Yeah,
creating some gaps in the pack.
it is. It might also be Cole wanting to keep it hard enough that it doesn't let him get dropped out the back. At least if you know you're at the front and you're riding at a hard intensity, but not super hard, you know that it's going to take a lot for people to come around you. And if
Yeah.
he does start to get dropped back, he still remains in the group. But as you can see, it's having an effect on the riders behind, because there's one or two riders that are just getting drilled out the back,
Yep.
and they're having to work pretty hard to get back in there again. McLeod. So Cole's just dropped back to that little bit back into that group, and he's still sitting at around about 4 to 5. So he's still working pretty hard, but he hasn't sat at the front there for too much. He's not spreading it out, but he's doing a smart move to stay at the front there, keep it hard enough to make it hard for the others at the back, and know
Yeah,
that
I
he's
mean,
not
you
going to
can
be
see
dropped out of it.
riders stringing out there a little bit at the back. That's a
Yeah.
danger time, I think. It's Kieran Moore who Kieran
Bye-bye.
Moore got dropped off. So yeah, I think yeah, that's his race done. We've just seen Wilson catch back on. He was looking at a bit dangerous there, yo-yoing off the back. That's the last hill.
Yeah, that was
There's
risky. Very risky.
There's the
Yeah.
little hill. Cole's saying that was his move and it's all done. Man, he can talk some
There's a lot
trash
of
during
chat.
a race. That's for sure.
There's a lot of chat going on. There's a lot of chat. There's a lot of maybe he's not. Maybe he's just someone's typing it for him. That's the other strategy.
True. We're seeing Brad Dixon come off the front here. This is the downhill section. Looks like I'm not seeing any try and solo breakaways here. Looks like they are going to take this to the line. Not long to go. They'll come down this downhill, then they'll kind of go around the back of this course. They'll go into the tunnel and then through that really that punchy uphill. That's where I'd expect to see some early moves from someone who wants to take it out about a K to the finish. We'll stick with the men. I've got my eyes on the women. They're about 3 kilometres behind the men now. So we'll just see what happens in this race, and then we'll cut over quickly to the women to see who takes out that one as well.
Yeah, well, I'm actually throwing it out there. I actually think we might see Gordy McCauley make a move out of that tunnel.
Okay.
I don't think he's raced much on Zwift recently, but I think if he has done any training, it will be more of an aerobic endurance focus, and we know that he's got watts to burn in those legs, and he's probably there for the longer haul rather than for the short sprint, short power effort. So we might see him coming out of that tunnel at the front of that group, throwing down, 8 or 9 watts a kilo for 5-10 seconds, just enough to break a little gap. And he's the sort of guy who's tough enough he can hang on. But I still think we'll see Tom riding smart. I know Damon's got a good kick on him. He could do something pretty impressive. Cole, I think, even though Cole's calling it, I think Cole's still got something in his legs.
I think so. I think everyone knows the game he's playing. I've seen some pretty cheeky comments back to him, so people know what he's up to. But I'd agree with you, Rob. I've got my eyes on Gordon McCauley here. He's super competitive. Yeah. He'll be great at this sort of short, sharp effort. He's still a super strong rider. Is he in his 40s, 50s now?
We'll go with 40s.
Okay.
We'll go with 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. 40s. I'll probably get a message from him tomorrow. Either thanking me or swinging at me.
And we're looking at power-ups here, Rob. Feather, Truck, and Ghost. What would you have held on to for this finish?
Well, either the Feather or the Ghost is going to be the most effective. The Truck or the Ghost. The Feather is only going to be effective if you've got a late sprint that you can get a heap of acceleration really quickly. But in the end, it's actually not going to help you much. Yeah, this is interesting.
Across you, Rob. This is two teammates. So Cole and Prinsloo both race for the Big Ring, which is a Zwift racing team. Similar to what you see with some of the other riders in there. This is a very strong racing team. They just did a 1-2 effort off the front here. Yeah. Managed to get 2 seconds, but pulled in very quickly by Campbell. They know what this crew is up to. They're watching for those little moves, but that could have worked. They might have had it.
That's the sort of stuff that you try again, and sometimes it sticks. It's just unfortunate that it didn't last any longer. But whoever was jumping on that did very, very well. Wilson's still sitting back in there. He's actually been doing really well to stay in that group, and we don't know if he's been riding a little bit easier just to do that, or if he's actually been working quite hard. But anyone who's at the back of that pack now, they're going to be the ones you want to watch for the big sprint finish. We say Tom Burgess, he's just sitting there happily in the middle. Cole and Prinsloo may have used a little bit of energy in that attack. Paul Crop's going to be strong. Gordy McCauley's going to be strong. But I think if you've got a Feather, you can really only use it for a long attack out of the tunnel, but it's not really long enough to get much out of it. Or it can be used as a really, really short duration, quick acceleration. But then if you leave it for too long, because it drops your weight, you effectively lose power on the flats anyway, so you don't want to mistime it. But the Ghost is a great power up to have, and the Truck, if you're at the back of the pack and you use your Truck and you can sprint through, you can get a heap of speed by drafting off the riders around you, popping up front. And we saw that Truck being used to good effect in the sprint lap when that rider had, I can't remember who it was, but he had a little bit of a gap just by using the Truck at the right time. So as we get into the final kilometre or so, K and a half, it's going to start winding up a little bit.
Yeah, so they'll come out of this tunnel, it'll be that little hill we talked about, a left-hander, then kind of straight. They've only got about a kilometre to go from here. So this is where we're seeing a feather drop here from someone in the pack. Few coming
There's
up here. It looks like Gordon McCauley and Tom Burgess might have just been moving to the front a little bit there, but it doesn't look like they've managed to get away. No orange numbers.
Tom had a feather. Yeah, Tom had a feather with him, so he's obviously, that was the one chance he could have used to good effect, but it hasn't stuck, so he's going to wait. He's going to save his energy for the last 200 metres, and he'll light it up. But we haven't seen anyone. Wilson's just drifting off the back there. Damon's still sitting in there. I know he's got some power in those legs. We might see a big finish coming from him. But yeah, Gordy, he's still sitting in there. Cole's still there. Ooh, Tom the bomb. Once we get around this corner, this left-hander and then the right-hander, it's about 300 to go, and they really won't start opening their sprint up until about 200 out, and that's when we'll start seeing some 9, 10, 11 watts per kilo, hopefully.
And that's when I've got to be quick on the mouse and make sure I get onto the right rider who's putting in the attacks. And I use the orange numbers on the right. So if you're watching and you're wondering who's opening up, if you keep an eye on those numbers on the right-hand side, when they open up their sprint, they turn orange. That means they're basically in their red zone, and they will be absolutely drilling it to the line. So yeah, nervous times here. They're going to take a right-hand corner, and that's basically straight and flat, and they'll be able to see the finish line approaching. Cole Burmester opening up early here.
Yeah, Cole. So
dropped
Cole's
a ghost, I think.
Yeah, and
very long.
So Tom's on it now. Who's using that truck? That is that's Cole. That's Cole with the truck. It's gone a long way out.
No, it looks like McLeod's on the front with Cole Burmester just behind. Prinsloo, Cole's teammate, coming through now. Looks like Prinsloo may roll over the top of McLeod.
That's impressive.
Wow. We'll get the replay on that. I'll just get back to us, the chase pack, and we'll very quickly head over to the women. It's all action here now on their last lap, but yeah, that was that was pretty full on. We'll get the replay up. I'll just make sure we don't miss the women's end of their race. They're just coming around to that tunnel area as well. Just a couple of K to go. We've that looked like Prinsloo took that out. Cole opened up very, very early, but we'll check out the replay once we get eyes on that. I can see the chase pack here now led on the men's side by Michael Tong, but onto the women, they are now entering also this danger time. Yeah, who's going to put? So we know this.
Yeah, we know the strong riders in this. Emma's got the great sprint on her. I think Emma will be the strongest sprinter in this field. Just looking at the numbers here, she's at 9.6. Georgina's at 8.1. So I think Emma. It'll be a fight between those two. Danielle's at 7.7 for 15 seconds. So there's some very, very strong riders. But yeah, I mean, so much can happen in these races. That men's race did not finish the way I expected it to.
No Gordon McCauley, no Tom Burgess. So,
no Tom, yeah.
Prinsloo there. I don't even know if Prinsloo's on the leaderboard. So that's been an amazing result from him.
So who is riding the disc here? That's the best wheel setup to use for the sprint finish. It's a cryogen rider.
Might be Emma.
No, that's
Georgina Thornton.
It's Fiona on the disc.
Nice.
So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see because that's the wheel that you want to get from a long way out. It's an aerodynamic wheel and it's a fast sprinting wheel. Oh no, it's Carly Francis. Sorry, I apologise. Another cryogen rider. Yeah. So she's got a good amount of endurance in her, so she'll probably go for the longer sprint. But again, I think that Emma has the big 15-second sprint on her. She's the one to watch for the final. Carly will do about 6.5 watts kilo, so she needs to go from a long way out, make the most of that aero wheel. She kind of needs to go from this right-hander that we're coming up to here, 300 metres out, and really get stuck into it, catch them by surprise. Even if she's got a power up with her, she might be able to make the most of that. Natalie Smith looks like she's just tucked in the back there with Fiona. Those two might start. Oh, Natalie's on a Tron bike actually. She's super aero. Yeah. Fiona's got some nice deep wheels. They're really coming together very, very well.
Someone's just used a ghost. Not sure. And we're opening up. Emma O'Connor opening up and a ghost. Emma, another ghost.
Well, there's a lot of ghosts.
They've all disappeared.
We've got no idea what's going to happen.
I'm following her. So she's going to appear again.
Emma's at the front. Dead air for 15 seconds.
That was fantastic.
Who else is around there? She's got a second up. Georgina and Danielle with them. So Danielle's chasing her down. Georgina's chasing her down. They're all on that draft.
Oh,
and it's going to
wow.
be Emma and Danielle on the line. Danielle looks like she's took it.
Might have to watch that. We'll just see what this chase back. Look how close they got to that group
Oh, they
ahead.
really came back, didn't they? Come back
Really
well.
close there. So,
That just shows how committed they were.
those are some amazing uses of the ghost power up. So that looks like Laura
Yeah.
Wood taking out that. I will actually. There was
Well,
so
they're
much
only
going
14
on in
seconds down.
the
Yeah.
men's and women's races. So before we come back, Rob, we'll try and just get our eyes on the men's race first. I'll just see if we can get around. So this is the end of the men's race. Just coming into that right-hander, we can see here it was Cole Burmester who opened up early.
Yeah, Cole did a good job here. So we're seeing who's reacting. McLeod, he reacted. Tom still hadn't reacted, and it was just too late by then. Anyone who was in a red number by now, they were already gone. So Cole, McLeod,
But look at
Roy,
this. Look at
Prinsloo coming from a long way
oh,
back, and
Prinsloo,
he was
absolute watts there. That is an absolute attack. He came through the
so
whole
he
field.
so he used the feather and he timed it right. So he had the acceleration from that, and he just had the momentum going, and he was just rolling through, and he was getting the draft off the right as he was coming through them.
Wow, that was pretty epic from the men's race, and we'll get
Yeah.
through into the women's race too. Just because you'll see here where the shot went blank, it's because we start seeing everyone using their ghosting power ups. You just start seeing them. There's one gone, then two
Yep.
gone,
Another one. Where are they gone?
and suddenly they've all disappeared. And where are they going to pop back up? It was. I've
And we
never
know
seen
those
ghosts
riders
use like
behind,
that. Oh
and
man.
the riders behind hadn't. They did no reaction. There was no reaction to them at all. They were still riding 5.5 or 6. Whereas Emma, she would have already been going 10 watts kilo, knowing that she couldn't be seen. Same with Danielle. They were already doing those numbers, and all they had to do was just get on it and get the momentum. Natalie did very well to hang in there as well. In fact, I think Natalie would probably end up fourth on that line, but Danielle looks like she just rolls Emma on the line
Yeah, that was
from Georgina.
pretty phenomenal. I'm just seeing some notes coming in from the socials too around the men's A category. Looks like there was a solo breakaway after the bonus sprint on lap 3. So very impressive. Well, questions about
Oh,
why we weren't,
Alexini.
yeah.
Alexini. Yeah,
So
look at
why
that.
we
Five
weren't
seconds.
following the men's A race. It's got to share the love. Followed the B tonight. So
Yeah.
we'll see who we follow next week. But good to share the love. And there have been some great battles going on in the men's B category racing, as well as what we just saw finish there, which was the women's A and B categories. And see if I can pull up what happened in the C's and D's for the women. It looks potentially like Martina Fellman may have taken that out, but I'll confirm later. Rob, thoughts?
That was some pretty good racing. I know we said last
Yeah.
week was pretty exciting, but this was all about the power ups, wasn't it? Last week was
Oh,
all about the attacking and the hard from the gun. This was all about power ups. The sprint points were won on power ups. The race was won on power ups, and I can only assume that Alex Heaney probably did a big attack up the last climb to get 5 seconds, and that was probably done for power up. So it's such an important thing to be able to understand.
yeah. I mean,
But
anyone
yeah,
from the men's A category, write a bit of a race report. Tell us what went on, so we can share the dramas that unfolded. We're following that B cat, which again, the ghost power up. I got to say, in the women's race, just was decisive. I think in the men's, it just creates confusion. And we had picked two totally different riders who I don't even see them anywhere near that sort of top 5. So, yeah,
yeah,
very surprising results.
I've been pretty proud of being able to pick them week in week out, and I was sorry guys, I was caught out. I should have picked you guys.
Yeah. So next week we're heading to a bit of a hilly course, Rising Empire in New York. For anyone who wants to go out and recon the
Cool.
course, I would definitely advise to do that. It's quite a tricky course. The climb there is pretty hard. We've got another new power up in use next week, the Anvil. Adds a bit of weight to your
Right.
downhill, so that makes some downhill attacking a bit of a possibility. And also, what's
Yeah.
interesting, Rob, is a series based on your best 4 results. So next week we're into race 5. So I'll guarantee we will see an absolute shake-up of results after next week's race.
Yeah, and pro tip: if you're that close to getting either a Tron bike by climbing Alpe d'Huez, then try and finish it off this week so you can have that, because that'll be a very fast bike. But better still, keep riding out to Zwift every day for the next 4 or 5 days at least, and try and win some lightweight Mittelsteins, because they will be the wheels to use on a lightweight frame on that course.
Yeah, just take
That's what I'm
a week
thinking.
of
Yeah,
annual leave between now and next week, and just ride
yeah,
up to Zwift every day, Rob?
yeah. Do all your interval sessions up Alps, just so at least you can try and win those wheels, because they will be the wheels that will probably could be the make or break for that race. Although I've been wrong before.
And just a shout out to our sponsor, Manuka Performance. Awesome products, all the details on the event page and through their tags in our social media. And also remember the e-try event, 10th of July, top
Yeah.
5 in each category qualify for that. It's qualification only. We got all the medals that just arrived, so they're looking pretty rad. And yeah, some pretty cool swag gear for everybody. And yeah,
Cool.
it's going to be a pretty unique and fun event.
Yeah, and also just a quick mention about Barry from Domestique. So I've got some Asioma, Favero Asioma pedals on my bike at the moment, which I'm trying out from, and they seem awesome. So if you're in the need for a trainer or power meter, etc., get in touch with Barry, another
Yeah.
sponsor for the event. So good stuff. Support your sponsors.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Rob, that's us. That was race number 4. That was that was a lot going on, I gotta say.
There's a
Uh,
lot going on.
Next week we hit the hills, but yeah, thanks for coming in and good to see you back in New Zealand.
It's great to be back. Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'm looking forward to next week. Start the banter already, because we like some of that material coming through.
Sweet. See you guys.
See ya.